Welcome everyone to our first podcast of the year. This is the LtUX, and it's actually the first time that we are even experimenting with this format. We decided to change a little bit because it's not possible to come back to in-person events due to Corona, and we are noticing that not a lot of people are joining online events due to a lot of screen time in our remote jobs. So we decided to experiment a little bit with this new format. And today we have Daria and Agata, who are co-organizers of LtUX Amsterdam as well, and Gimena as one of our hosts, who are going to discuss how to find a job remotely, especially with this strange situation that all of us need to live in. And then it's myself, who I'm also a co-organizer of LtUX, and Ecesu as well, a co-organizer, who are going to be moderating the discussion. And with that, I think we can probably start by introducing ourselves a little bit.
I can start, I don't mind. So my name is Daria. I've been doing product design for 5 years, same amount of years since I moved to Amsterdam. And recently I found a new job and I'm here to talk about my experience. How about you, Agata?
Well, hello. My name is Agata. I'm a product designer as well. I've been in design for 7 years, 5 or 6 of which I spent as a product designer. At the moment, I'm working at Relive as a product designer. By the way, we are hiring. So check out the jobs at relive.cc. And also, this is my first job, which I found, remotely. I've been working at Relive since September, and I'm here to share my experience as well.
Okay, so my name is Ecesu. I've been working at Unless for 3.5 years now in website personalization and optimization. I do a mix of tasks, marketing, sales, customer onboarding, but also a bit of UX, and I'm a UX enthusiast at heart, so that's why I'm here. What about you, Sabrina?
Yes, I'm Sabrina. I'm a UX designer. I've been working as a UX designer for over 5 years, something like that. And currently I'm working at Coolblue, which probably most of you know, it's an e-commerce in the Netherlands. And I've been working at this company for 2 years and a half. And you, Gimena?
Well, I'm Gimena. I'm now a product designer, before a UX designer, interaction designer. I've been working digital design for about 6-7 years now. Currently, I'm working in a company called Lightspeed, and I found that job remotely just at the beginning of the lockdown. So yes, it was a very interesting experience.
Well, we're here to hear about it.
Yes.
So let's dive straight in with the first question we have, which is, were you actively looking for a job, or did the job find you? And this goes for all 3 of you.
I would say yes and yes. I was actively looking for a job, and the job find me. But I was in the process finding another job, so I had already written a bunch of applications, cover letters, thought about a lot of things, a lot of questions that could come up. I had interviews for things that didn't work out, and then somebody from the company I'm working for now, they reached out to me, and this time it worked out after 6 interviews.
Agata, what about you?
Yeah, I guess as for me, I didn't really actively look for a job, but there was a point where I realized that I have to change the job I was, change the place I was in, I guess. The work I was doing for another one. And coincidentally, I got a message from our HR from Relive that's, do I know someone who might be looking for a job as a product designer? And I was like, oh, wait a second, I might be looking for a job. So yeah, like 3 interviews later, I got the job, maybe 4 interviews later.
Oh, cool. For me, it was kind of similar. At the moment, I was working at KLM, and as you may imagine, that during Corona, it was not the best time for working for an airline. So that was I was not looking actively for another job, but I was thinking somewhere on the back side of my mind that maybe I should be looking for it, but I really like the company. And then out of a sudden, this recruiter reached out to me via LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, let's see what they have. I'm just curious. I was not proactively looking to change, but then it seemed out that they have a nice offer, and then I was curious, and then it just like advanced into a job change.
Okay. And you all mentioned multiple interviews in this process. So what was the remote interview process like for you? Was it any different than your past experiences?
I did find it quite different, especially it was longer. I had to meet more people, and then on the one hand, it was great to have more control over things, like the place where you sit for the interview, and you'd be home at the time, but it was hard to try to not to get thrown by the fact that you don't have the in-person feeling. I had one interviewer who probably had the camera, was not looking at the camera during the whole time he was talking to me. And so, I mean, I had to, you had to consciously ignore those things and try to keep a conversation flowing, not to be thrown by those things. But yeah.
I can imagine that must have been an awkward interview when there's someone
awkward.
staring here and then talking to you.
It's like someone having a conversation with you, but they are looking out of the window the whole time. And so you don't know whether that's personal or not. So to be online was like, I try to remind myself that, okay, not try to read the situation the same way as if you were in person. Like you don't know if they're distracted or not because there's noise around, or you don't know any of that. So I did find it that it was a little bit more important to be prepared, in the sense that, on the other hand, you have the advantage that you can have a million notes around you. You can have another screen with things you want to remember, questions you want to ask, and they would not see any of that. So it's nice to take advantage of that other side of being remote.
That is actually a good tip indeed. It comes with the pros and the cons.
Yeah, kind of the same for me. I felt like, hey, I can have my notes open and just make sure I highlight all the points I want to mention during like some stages. But at the same time, for me, it was a bit weird. So then, okay, you do the first stage the same, just on the phone with the recruiter. But then normally you would go to the office and meet those people in person, see how their office is like, see how they act at the coffee machine corner or something like that. So without it, it was just a pure call. Just immediately you are in the situation, you present yourself, and then you're out. So then there is a human interaction missing, as for me.
Well, that's actually a question I was planning to get to later, but I will jump straight in. So, of course, when applying for a new job, getting an idea of the culture is very important. But now in this remote setting, that can be a bit of a challenge. Daria, I know you had some nice strategies about this. Would you maybe like to share some with us?
Yeah, definitely. First thing which I was in doubt was exactly the company culture. So then I felt like, yeah, you have all those nice perks, but then it's not enough. I didn't want to step into some toxic culture just because the salary is nice and the holidays are good. So I just wanted to check what is the team like, what do they value about the company. So I just asked if it's possible to arrange some coffee rounds with a few of the team members just to see what they're living and breathing. And just after I received an offer, I asked the recruiter, the HR manager, to do it just before I sign it. So I just had a few rounds and saw that hey, we a lot of in common with these people, so it's a good match.
And on that topic, I'm also wondering, because of course, from your side, it's very important to not start working in a company with a toxic culture. But I can imagine that for the company, it's also very important to understand your personality and if you are actually a good culture fit. Did you, Daria, or maybe any of you notice maybe more questions regarding your personality or something like that to figure out more about yourself?
It was actually quite awkward. They did try to strike up some questions like, so what are your hobbies? And then you're on the spotlight just after presenting the home assignment, and we're like, I'm playing video games, and it's just, I'm not sure how much is telling about me as a person. So that was kind of awkward. But then during those coffees, before that, I prepared a list of questions, like just to see like what are their opinions on what do they value about the company, and it really helped for me.
It's a longer process, I think, and they made sure in the 6 interviews, I probably talked to 10 people. There were 2 people per interview. I also had to record a video of 5 minutes talking about why I was doing design, and also do the test case. So it was quite long, but at the end of it, I didn't know who I had talked to, the questions.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, 6 interviews do sound like a lot. At Unless we're currently planning on hiring a developer, and we're a small team, so culture is very important with every new hire. It can drastically change the dynamics in a team. So we were thinking, okay, if we cannot have them at the office for coffee and so on, how do we investigate that part of the equation? And an idea we had was we have these daily second breakfast calls where we just have simple chit chats, talk about hobbies, what we did over the weekend, and so on. And an idea was to also invite candidates to this call just to chat with us. And of course, that comes with the pros and cons. Maybe they're a bit more extroverted and can easily join in a call with 4 others to talk about the weather. But it also comes with challenges. So it's still something we are working on as well. But Gimena, you mentioned a very extensive interview process. Was there a whiteboard challenge included in this? And what was it like doing that remotely?
I had to do, a sort of a challenge, but I had, I think, 3 days to prepare it. To me, the difference was like, I like the challenge, whereas before I had other interviews where they sent me challenges that were quite unrealistic in my view, that would have involved like a week's work for free. So in that case, what I did was like I reached out again to the HR person that was talking with me, and I asked to talk to the design lead before doing the challenge. So to check whether it was worth for me doing all that work. And yeah, the culture there was not what I liked, so I didn't do that challenge. Yeah, it was different. Like I needed to worry more about how to present and make a small presentation, but also not like balanced out how much effort you put versus like the fact that you're doing this for free and you have to be realistic into how you give. And I also think like if they ask you for a design challenge that is too long and they don't realize that maybe it's not a right company to work for because they're not respecting your time. So like it's good to be willing to make an effort to get a job, but not you don't have to work 40 hours for free.
That's a very good tip. And I imagine, especially for juniors, I think as you get more and more experience, it's easier for you to maybe stand up for yourself and know what you are worth, what your time is worth, and to choose whether you get to do that or not. But also for juniors, maybe we can make a call from here to all of them to remember they also don't need to do work for free, or not always, and their time, their effort matters. Yeah,
definitely not. I think for juniors, I would say like, okay, if there's something that doesn't feel right about the exercise you've been sent, it's totally fine to look for clarification and to every time I get an exercise, I ask also like directly, how many hours do you expect me to work on this? You also, how to match, okay, what kind of designer we're looking for, and the exercise will give you an idea of they are very UI focused and you don't like that. But if they say, no, we are looking for somebody in UX, well, then, you know what I mean? You cannot do the full UX UI interaction and everything in an exercise.
Yeah, definitely. I heard some companies they even pay for doing a test assignment, because you spend your time on it. It shouldn't be for free if it's extensive.
I would love if we could make that the norm. Same with internships as well, of course. But do we have any other remote challenge experiences maybe that we could share?
Yeah, like for well, not for Relief, but for another company, I did a whiteboard challenge, and basically I was asked to do a critique, like interaction and product design critique on B2B product, and then like after 30 minutes, me rambling about like how bad or how good experience was there. I was taken to the Miro whiteboard where I was asked to come up with a alternative solution, which in my opinion would be better. That was fun. Also a bit weird because like for me personally, whiteboard challenges are they're really fun, but also quite stressful because you are expected to talk out loud. You are expected to explain every move you make, and you kind of communicate in the way you are thinking. And when you do it via Zoom, you just like have several people with poker faces like looking at you, moving the mouse, and you just like, okay, so how do you do that at Miro? Like, oh shit, I need to I need to change color to green, and yeah, it's quite stressful, but also quite fun. So if I could give an advice on that, is probably like if you know that there is a whiteboard challenge coming, you better ask which program they expect you to use, and get familiar with that. And of course, read the book about solving product design exercises. It's a really nice read. Yeah.
That is a very good tip indeed. Practice before your calls. That goes for checking what's in your background, but also knowing which tools you will have to use. Do you have the app downloaded in your desktop? Do you need to create an account in advance? And making sure you are prepared from your end and then show up ready. We also mentioned a few red flags. So do you have any stories you would like to share, or some red flags that you have seen and walked away, or red flags that you didn't notice at the time and you wish you had, maybe?
Yeah, I wouldn't drop in names around, but then I saw some interesting requirements on the job listings, like companies who are looking for someone resistant to stress, be prepared to work in a high-paced environment. That's already a sign that it's gonna be stressful. And they're going to apply a lot of pressure to you. So if you're not that kind of person, I would say just stay away from it. There are still plenty of positions to take. It's just not worth it. Because as for me, this company is not caring about you as an individual. They're more caring about producing as fast as possible, and that's not a priority for me. I just want to develop my career and stay sane.
That's a very important tip, especially today when our work and personal lives have mixed and blurred lines a bit more. And I think at the beginning of the pandemic, we all thought we'll have more time to ourselves because we no longer have to commute. And it turned out to be the other way around, where we find ourselves working more hours, not less, or at least that's what I'm reading online more so. So indeed, that's one thing to make sure and see if you can check about the company you're applying to, whether they value that balance as well. Any other red flag stories, maybe?
I guess for me, like one of the big red flags is always when you talk to someone like who's in some management position, maybe a founder, and then this person tells you that research isn't that important, data isn't that important, you have to trust your gut feeling. And then this is like the message which probably means that if you accept the offer, you will spend your days doing whatever that management person wants, because that person has a gut feeling, and it never will be enough, and it's not worth it.
Fair enough. You're going to have a hard time making your points.
Exactly.
I would also like to add a little thing that it's good also to check during interview versus what kind of talent track does this company have? Do they have a process in mind how to develop you as a professional? And in my experience, it happened that one company which I was doing an interview with said, "Oh, but we don't have a career track because we hire only senior people, so then they don't need a career track." And I was like, "Okay,
well, that's convenient."
That's one way to go about it. Actually, when I first saw your note about this, it made me think, well, if you're at a small company, the chances for this might be less. But then I realized that's not actually true, because even in a small company, they might allow you to the space to experiment and learn things and take courses or go to events and conferences when we could do that at the time. And then it made me think, oh, that's actually one of the main reasons that I work where I work at the moment. Is when I first met their CMO, she was very excited to just teach me all the things and walk me through that journey. And also through that process, I have seen them always keeping the door open for more education and training. When I mentioned that I was interested in UX, that they found a CX expert to work with us, and I would be in close contact with him, having meetings, learning about different things that are in the UX process, and being the person in charge of that, even though that was not my initial title. And it's important to ask those questions at the interview process. Are they open to teaching you things? Are they open to giving you the time to learn, but also to experiment, fail, and try again? We talked a lot about red flags, and if you don't have any more stories, maybe we can move on to the positive side of things. So how about some green lights, things that make you think, yes, this is a company where I want to work and spend my time with them?
Yes, well, as for me, it's a bit weird to say, but I had a list of positive things I already experienced with other companies and teams, and had already in mind that I would like to be working with the design team. I would like to have for example, head of design or something like that. So I already had those requirements in place, and for me, it was super important just to learn from others, to have an opportunity to grow into a leading position. So based on those things, I just checked during the interview if that is a possibility, and when they said yes, for me, just an enabler to proceed.
I always ask what the process is for designers, and then that will give you a lot of red or green lights. But it also depends a lot on what you're looking for, right? I think when I first started, I was quite happy to be embedded in a team. But now I would prefer to work with a bigger team of designers and being in various teams at the same time. So it depends on what you're looking for. It is quite important to ask at an interview, what is the process like for designers? How are they? If there's one, if there's five, do they come together often? Are they in the team? How they share knowledge? So in general, in that answer, you also get to hear how they are. I have also asked a few times, how is design viewed in the organization? Like straight up asking, like, what is the view of design for the company? And yes, some of the answers are red and some are like, great. Usually what you hear is like they are trying to make it better.
It is a struggle sometimes.
It's actually funny because sometimes I ask if the company has a design system in place, and sometimes they say no, but it's not a red flag for me. It's the other way around. It's an opportunity for me to get in and introduce the design system, because I'm generally excited about those. So it's just things that you can find out for yourself being interesting, or maybe you can stumble on the red flag. So then just go and ask if you feel it's important.
Exactly. For me, like really important to, like, when you talk to like company representatives, it's really important that like every person you meet during your interviews, with everyone you have some kind of connection, and no one actually, like, because sometimes, you know, like you talk to people and everything is nice, but then you talk to some a manager or I don't know, developer, and it gets extremely awkward. Should they be working there? Like the green light for me when you have the genuine connection and the click with everyone from the company, and also when you see that the company has the growth mindset, that's something that you just mentioned, basically when they are all interested like in development of every employee in the company, no matter the size.
All right, those are some nice answers. Thank you. And do you maybe have some advice for juniors? Because I guess as you have gained more experience, it's easier to find what to look for, what to avoid, and know the things you want and the things that should scare you away. But what if you're a junior? What can you do when you're looking for a job, especially remotely, but also in any case?
Well, I don't have a particular advice, but I would just looking at my experience, I would say just go and get it. But then if you feel it's not right, if it's draining you, if it starts make you feel bad about your calling, about what you do, about design, then I would say it's a moment to just take a break. Because when I just started my career, I was doing like a free internship just to get it on my resume, to get some experience, especially in a startup. It's a high-paced environment, you learn a ton. But then if you get into a toxic environment with a, I don't know, like a very a CEO with a huge ego, which actually drown in the product, and after like few months, I would say you get enough. Go and get some new one. Yeah, go and try.
Yeah. I think it's also, I don't know, I think when you start as well, like UX is so big. There's so much you can learn, and so many areas and directions you can go into. It takes some time to figure out whether you're more comfortable with interaction or UI or research, but there would be something you're more inclined to. There'd be two things. There would be what's possible, like what's possible, the jobs that are there for you to take. They may not be the perfect one, but you want to learn, so you want to get started. But maybe check that you would have a bit of room for that one aspect of UX you're more interested in. Make sure that you get, okay, I'm going to take this job, but it's not great for a few months, but I do get the chance to do some interaction design or learn about design systems, or one thing that's that you personally want to learn at that time. But yes, it's not possible to know it all or learn it absolutely everything, but it's quite personal as well, right? And whatever it is right. It's what you like and what you feel drawn towards.
Yeah, UX is quite a large umbrella, let's say, and you have to try to find out what you like. And one way of that is meetups, even online or not, maybe some online courses also, just to get an idea of what that entails, but also maybe doing multiple internships where you can try different aspects of it, or maybe finding a job at a larger company with a design team where you can talk to people in different roles and get a better idea of their tasks, and maybe also get them as your mentors and having these coffee dates with them to find out what life as a researcher could look like, as a service designer could look like, and so on.
On the other hand, if you work at a startup and you are the only one, you just get thrown into everything, and so it's a bit of a personality as well.
Well, maybe sometimes that's good. I mean, if you have the chance to try everything, at least you have the tryout, and then you can see, okay, I prefer this part or this other part, and then in future jobs you can find something more specific.
And talking about the mentorship, it's funny that you mentioned it, because we, ladies at LtUX, we're about to launch another round of mentorship program soon. So be prepared.
Yeah, and one final thing I wanted to add was a sentence I heard at a meetup also, and it always stuck with me. And whenever I am talking to someone who's looking for a job and maybe getting a bit discouraged, is it only takes one yes. You're going to make a lot of applications. You'll hear back from some of them. You'll have interviews from a little bit less. And then as it goes further down the funnel, it only takes one yes. And until then, it will be a struggle. But you got this. And we've been talking for a while, so we'll slowly make our way to the end, but maybe a little something fun. Did you have any embarrassing moments during this remote search that you would like to share with us?
Yes.
Yeah, you, Agata.
yeah, I knew that you are talking about me. Yeah, as a matter of fact, yes. So at my current company, Relive, which is hiring, by the way, I was invited to the office to do the whiteboard challenge. So I came to Rotterdam. I was sitting in the classroom doing my whiteboard challenge stuff. And then I decided to go out to have some water. And on the way back, I was too occupied with my phone. So I actually crashed with my forehead into the glass door. Such a classic cliche thing that usually happens in the movies. Actually happened to me during my interview. And the sound was horrible. It was like so loud. And I have this also really bad habit when I fall from bike or like I injure myself, I start crying. So I just went to my classroom and I was sitting there finishing my whiteboard challenge, silently crying out of embarrassment. Yeah, I got a job on the bright side of things. Maybe, maybe the guys felt pity for me. But I left. I left the office as a unicorn, quite literally, because I had quite a big bump on my forehead.
So you were the unicorn they're looking for in all the job applications.
Exactly.
This is the problem with glass walls should not be a thing. Unless
Exactly.
they're
I
covered
mean,
with post-its.
exactly. And I was like, am I the first person? And they said that I was actually the first person, and they have like around 30
No.
people in the office, and no one managed to do that before me.
I mean, even if you are not the first one, even if you are the first one, they should have lied in that situation, I think. Maybe that's a red flag. Not to badmouth your current coworkers, but you know. So while we're keeping things light, what about getting ready for the call and your outfits? Do you still keep it a bit more formal, or we're all working from home? We have kids and pets and plants in the background. So what was your approach to that?
Well, actually, when I was when I was interviewed, like my dog was, I think, on day 3 or 4 months, and dogs in this age, they're extremely annoying. I mean, he's still annoying, but back then he was just like trying to eat my feet, and I found out that was it's really bad, but it's also a very good icebreaker. So you just like keep all this tiny piece of biting fluff to the camera, and everyone just smells.
Oh, nice.
So that was nice.
Yeah, in the past it used to be YouTubers that bring their cats and dogs to the camera, and now we're all doing it. I am just going to the questions we had, and I see there's one important one, which is about portfolios. And of course, the moment you become a designer, you start preparing your portfolio, and there's a lot of things to go through. But how do you share your portfolio in a remote setting when you cannot be next to the person walking them through? How do you highlight your skills, your strengths?
Yeah, like from my experience, presentations with 2 to 3 projects work the best. And I would suggest probably using like one big project that shows strategic skills, your UI skills, interaction skills, and then a smaller one, maybe it was not a whole project, but a tiny feature. And I would just also recommend to use less text and more images, because no one actually has time or stamina to read through 15 bullet points in the keynote in font size 16. And of course, rehearse. If you do job hunting for a while, you probably have your best presentation that you know by heart, and you can actually present in the middle of the night if someone would wake you up. Like show it to some friends. Maybe if you have a mentor, and if you don't have one, we're going to have a mentorship program at some point.
It's actually a really good tip you just mentioned, that doing more interviews than you're actually looking for. It's also good because then you can prepare yourself for unexpected questions or be better at presenting. Try more.
Exactly. Like, I mean, there are some bright things to like being rejected multiple times. I mean, that's horrible, of course, but also there are some bright things like practice, which is very painful, but it makes you better.
Keeping the text brief is a good point indeed, in terms of that person not having time to go through your whole content. You have to keep in mind their day, their job, and you don't know how many applications they are getting, of course. So keep in mind the recruiter as well. We were hoping to get a recruiter on this call. It didn't happen because of scheduling conflicts, but hopefully in a future episode, we can also have them join us for some questions about this too.
Yeah, I think that is always important to mention that it's not personal, even when you get rejected. You don't know. A lot of the times you don't know what the internal situation is. Maybe they forgot to email you. Maybe I think it could be a million things that happen that have absolutely nothing to do with you. saying that is always great when you get a rejection that tells you why, and it's great to be able to ask for feedback. If they say no, you can also, why can you give me a bit of feedback? That's always useful. But in most of the cases, it's not really personal. It's just like,
fair enough. You apply a lot of places and they get a lot of applications. But indeed, when you can ask for feedback so that you can take it to the next place, one step better too. And speaking of that, is there anything that you would have done differently in this process now that you're looking back from your new jobs?
Well, I mean, we got the jobs in the end,
Yeah.
right?
Fair enough.
No mistakes being
All
done.
right.
Yeah,
Next time,
the
keep an eye
only
on the
thing
glass doors. That's all.
that I would change about it, I would just try to make a bit more space between jobs. So then I had only 3 days off, and it's not enough. I would take a week at least, or maybe 2.
I think that's a very good tip indeed. It's nice to close one chapter before you're opening the other and get started afresh.
Exactly. And what also helped me during like job hunt, like before I got this job, I used to have this Google Doc where I put all my applications, all the list of companies I applied to, and then if they did reply, and then it's at which point the communication stopped, or maybe when they got back to me and gave me feedback, no, it's a mismatch, we don't want you here. And it helped me to keep track of those companies that didn't get back to me. So then I knew, oh, they have a really toxic HR department. I don't want to apply there anymore.
Oh.
But it's so funny. Like recently, 4 months ago, I did also like an interview just for fun to see what the company has for me. And then this recruiter who reached out to me proactively, like, hey, do you want to do this interview? I said, okay. And then she just disappeared. And 4 months later, she appears again and she said, oh, I'm so sorry that we didn't reach out to you. But as you probably guessed, it's a no. But nevertheless, I have another position. Would you like to try? And I'm like, no.
Ouch.
That's so unprofessional.
Yeah.
Coming back to red flags, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, how the recruiter can expect that you will say yes after this experience?
Yes, you're hired. Congrats.
Then she disappears again for now.
Yeah, I'll send you a contract in a year.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for all your input. I see we've been recording for a while, so to close it off nicely, what would be your one final tip to people that are looking for a job at the moment? Or if you have any recommendations for books, articles, things that we can also link to in the description later.
Yeah, definitely. I have a recommendation I saw actually in our Slack group that Ladies LtUX. Someone just recommended to have those design challenges and to prepare for the interview. And they have some whiteboard challenges. And they recommended this book, and it's called Solving Product Design Experiences, Questions and Answers. We will definitely display the link in the description, but I already started reading it and it's super nice. It gives this exercise mode to you. So if you are not actively looking, it's still good, to see what is required, what are the good practices, and it makes you think a bit more structured. So I would definitely recommend it.
That is a really cool tip. Thank you. Any other final remarks, maybe?
Well, I think, well, like Daria said, it's good to keep track of where you have applied, what reply you got, and also some like keep using for the letters. But also, yeah, just keep applying. Like, 'cause the more doors you knock, the more chances you have one will open. And it's, I think job hunting is a skill in itself, so it's great to keep practicing.
All right, that is a good tip.
And I think Agata had some nice articles about job hunt.
As a matter of fact, yeah, you can find some articles written by me on Medium, indeed. But besides, promoting myself, I would also like to recommend the Solving Product Design exercises. book. I think that's the same book as Daria mentioned. It's really great, definitely worth the money. Yeah, totally recommend it.
All right. In that case, it's a little hard to recap the past hour, but I'm going to try to just do so with a few small points. Basically, get prepared in advance, whether that is tools or questions or your background, and know what you want. Have questions ready to ask the company as well. They might be hiring you, but you also have a right to ask questions and make sure that you would get what you want in that job. The culture is important. See if you can figure things out. Maybe go on coffee dates with potential future colleagues online. Keep it safe. And get ready for design challenges. Ask in advance what tools they might be using. Keep in mind red flags, but also green lights. What are things you would like to have? What are things you should avoid at a company? And yeah, I think that's about it. Know what you're looking for and keep trying to get it. So keep applying until you get that one yes. Thank you for joining us today.
And the mentorship program will start in the beginning of April. So we will start announcing the dates quite soon.
Yeah, we are going to first open the registrations for mentors, probably quite soon, and then later the registrations for mentees as well. And other than that, yeah, you can follow us in our website or meetup page, and we also have a Slack channel, but we are going to put all the links in Spotify, YouTube, etc. So you're going to find them in the description. And yeah, thanks a lot for listening to us.